Yeah, we're ready. We're recording.
Ready to go?
Recording.
Good. Well, hey,
Yeah.
hey, howdy, partner.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, this is Thomas, PITSTOP Pioneers. This is something new I'm going to try. I have a guest here for the first time. It's finally happening. So, you know, my whole thing is people, perspectives, and what is it? Poetry. That's right. I haven't done any poetry yet. I'm lots of poetry, but not released.
It's not happening today.
No, not happening. Just perspectives. But today I have my first guest, and this is Sammy Iovino.
What's up?
What's up? And I'm probably the only person in America close that can say his name right.
I have family members that can't say it right.
Wow. Well, I don't even know what to say. You totally threw me off. Anyway, so Sammy is a good friend of mine. It seems like I know him forever, but it's actually just 3 years, right? So
If that.
I think it's 3 years. Yeah. So I got a was it an email or text message by a mutual friend? It's like, hey, you need to meet Sammy. It's he sent me an email, and the next thing that I know is
That's all the email said too.
that's okay.
I think he sent an email to both of us, said Tom meets Sam, Sam meets Tom, and then that was it.
That was
no
it.
context
No,
whatsoever.
no, it's just you just need to meet. It's an order.
It was an order.
Pretty much was an order.
It was
If
an
you know
order.
the person, it was an order. I was like, yes, sir, let's do it. And so we actually, it's just had time, and Corinne and I went up see you guys in Long Island, and that's pretty much it, you know. So you're married. You have two beautiful children.
I do.
One of them is a very close friend to my son, which is it's amazing. He thinks they're going to get married. So
Yeah, I think in their minds it's
right.
a future husband wife.
it's a done deal. So
Yeah.
it's we need to talk camels and stuff, you know,
Yeah.
at one point. Yeah, but so
Maybe we'll
anyway.
do a whole episode just about that.
Yeah, about how do you release your son and daughter into that? It's not that we believe in arranged marriages necessarily, no. But it's just interesting.
It's very interesting, and but they're 9, so
The night,
it's-
okay, yeah. There's time. There's time.
There's definitely time. Please.
So in short, you know, Cammy. Oh my God.
That's what my grandpa
Hey,
called me.
Cammy. So Sammy has a podcast. It's called No Green Eggs and Ham. Sam I Am, right? So if you haven't listened to any of this, you need to. It's fun. It's off in a good way. You know, it's about nothing, right?
Nothing
And everything. So and you finish your podcast with a phrase. What's that phrase?
See you, not see you.
See you, not see you. So think about that. Let it sink in, and we'll see.
I think what happened was it came
Tell
out
me.
organically
Okay.
because I think it was I said at one point, "See you guys next time," but then I was like, "But I don't actually see you." So actually, see you, not see you.
Oh, okay. Now it makes much more
You got
sense.
that now?
Yeah,
See,
but
I didn't
think
explain
that's-
it that well.
Yeah, because like I've been listening to the podcast, I'm like, what is this see you or not see you type of thing? Okay, I think
Is it T-shirt worthy? I think it is.
Hey, I told him if you make a T-shirt, I'm going to wear it. So if you want a sticker, you know that's the way to get a cool sticker from his podcast, No Green Eggs and Ham. It's about nothing, and if you get a sticker, if you leave a review, right?
Yep. Leave
That's
me a
all.
review. I'll
Yeah.
send you.
So
the sticker.
maybe first, before you do that, listen to an episode or two, and it's some fun stuff. I like the fun fact stuff that
The
you
fun
do.
fact. My wife loves those too. Yeah. You know what? I just Google
Yeah,
what's fun.
and
weird
again,
stuff.
and it's about stuff that you didn't even know, and I don't know if you need to know, but it's fun to know.
No one needs to know.
No,
But a robot that feeds you tomatoes, who doesn't want to know about that?
That was something else, man.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the last thing is with the, yeah, hold on. It was the woman who had like 4 bees in her eyes.
Oof.
But that's not a fun
The
fact.
bee. That was
just a
fun.
story.
That was a story. That was terrible.
So we're not going to give them away more. You need to listen to that. I almost said you need to see that episode, but you need to listen to that episode. So it's great. So yeah, he has a podcast. You also have a book coming out, right?
Book coming out.
So I was a little bit involved in that process.
He was actually. It's
I don't know how, but just being me, and I can't show up, you know. So maybe that I said something, but
well,
it's something about
you don't hold back.
Whoa, okay.
With me.
No, with you at all.
I think with me you don't hold back, which has actually helped me a lot.
Okay.
And hey, it changed the title of the book.
So how much can you give away? I mean, I know you in one of your podcasts you read the first chapter.
I read the first chapter,
Right.
which has actually changed since.
Okay.
Well,
No.
see, the problem is, I try to over perfect things,
Okay.
and finally I let go.
Okay.
Just as of like a week ago,
So it's
because
it's
I
done.
redid just a part of it.
Leave it.
It's done.
And so what is it about? Just in short.
In short, it's about a group of warriors from ancient times who have been passed down generation to generation. It's not that the warriors are from ancient times. It's
Okay.
certain relics have been passed down to different warriors from, from back in the days when, I'm going to tell you, it's like the start of Israel, because basically we have the 12 tribes.
Okay.
And so it's centered around that in a way. And it's basically these child warriors who have been given the task of defeating evil in a way. And it centers around a young boy named Jacob, who comes from a past that he's not even sure of. And he was found with, I can tell you this, he was found with, in front of a burning home, with all around his neck was a pendant with a lion head on it. And I think that's
a good start
for now.
Yeah. Don't give away too much.
But you can listen to the first
chapter. Yeah, the first chapter is cool, man. I enjoyed it. And is there a title? Is it now fixed what it's going to be called? Or it's a series at least?
The series is called Guardians of the 12.
I love it.
And at one point it was Jacob Lionheart and the Guardians of the 12, or Warriors of the 12 even. And Tom said, "Oh, I love Guardians. I don't love Jacob." And I agreed with that. I didn't love Lionheart. You didn't love Lionheart.
Yeah, something like that.
And even that changed because his name isn't even Lionheart. So
a lot of change is still happening. Well, it's not out yet.
That helped. Yeah, it happened a long time ago. But so it's Guardians of the 12 is the series, and the first book, I think unofficially, the subtitle for that book is Jacob and the Lion Pendant. Okay. Which, when you read the book, you'll find out why.
Wonderful. Okay, the Guardians of 12.
Guardians of the 12.
And it's for what genre is it?
It's child fantasy. Yeah. I think it's probably ages 12 and up, I would say, because there are some intense parts in there.
Okay. It makes me think, I had a conversation about this because I told somebody you will come and what you've been working on. And it made me think of C.S. Lewis, obviously, and of J.R. Tolkien. And people didn't realize at that time, I mean, those were, just talk about this for a second, these guys were professors of Oxford, writing children's stories that there was no genre yet. There was just a story for, I think, Tolkien wrote it for his kids, as a story. The Hobbit, starting with that, and I mean, it turned into fantasy, right? I mean, a genre that was not even there at the point. And what strikes me is those guys they had the Christian faith, both of them. They were, that's the way they lived or tried to live, or like their conviction, but they didn't come out with this. As a Christian series or like right. Christian books or something. It was simply they just put it out there and changed the world, Right. And so this is now, think about this. This is now something that you can write on, of a genre that was invented like in the last century about fantasy stories for kids.
Yeah,
and now it's your turn.
I hope so.
Come on,
and
why not?
It's hard. You want to like create something. You want to like, as a writer, as an artist, you want to like create something that no one's seen before. But the fact of the matter is, everything comes from something, and everything is influenced by something else. So I can't say that I'm creating something new. I'm not taking from others, but I'm influenced by others and other works, and I can't not say that I'm influenced by Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and even J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter series, Rick Riordan with the Percy Jackson series. It's just, growing up, I love movies. I hope you don't mind if I...
Oh, please. I want to talk about movies because that's another thing that I wrote down about you.
Hey.
Movies, come on.
I love movies. Yeah. I love the way you feel after a certain movie, like a good movie that really drives you. For me, because of my background, I loved the adrenaline that I would get from certain movies, and I loved the story more than anything else. And I as a young kid, I always visualized things. I had a really overactive probably imagination, and I was able to use that. Yeah. I hope so. Yeah. And I was able to use that in writing, and then this book basically came from a graphic novel in my head, and I call it a graphic novel. And I've said this on my podcast. It's something that I visualize.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's a graphic novel in the sense of comic books. It's a graphic novel. It's graphic in my head, so I can see every detail. I see it, and I'm sure other people do that too. But it drove me to want to do the book because it was something I wanted to see later on. It was something I wanted to see, hopefully in a movie. Can this be made in a movie? I think it can.
Yeah.
Will it? Probably not. But it's something I want.
Well, hey, who knows?
Who knows?
Let's get the book out and take it from there.
I enjoy it. People that have read it have enjoyed it, and it's a really fun take on. I think that no one's really done this little particular part of it, but as you'll see some influences from different people, and I took from life events and different people that I know.
And I also heard that some characters are based on some people that you know.
There are some people in my life.
Hold on. What does one need to do to become a character in one of your books? I want to know.
They make me mad. No.
Okay.
No.
That's me.
You know what? There's a character in there. His name is Anthony. He's loosely based on a friend that I grew up with, who I've talked about on my podcast before. We fell apart. Not fell apart, but we talk now and then. But our lives have went to different directions. My father-in-law is actually on there. Probably one of the greatest men I've ever known. And he definitely influenced a character there. And there was an instructor in my life early on, my formative years, who is a big part in the book. So I took what influenced me not only in genre and in writing, but in life. I took the people that cultivate, not everybody, but certain, and other books will have more, but this one had a couple people.
Well, that's interesting, So you have this in your mind, or had this in your mind, and developed. You did a lot of research. I remember when I first got to know you, you showed me some of those places around Long Island where you had some almost like encounters where you could visually see this is the place that this would happen or that happened, and it's pretty interesting, And now you weave in stories or characters of people that that mean something. Am I in it?
I think you are.
Okay, all right. Just now you have to put me in.
Yeah. You'll be in the next one for sure.
The next book. Okay, yeah. There's more. It's going to be a trilogy, right? Or
I think at least 4.
At least 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Well, we're looking forward, man, for that to come out. You talked about movies.
Yeah.
I know that I'm very grateful for you because you set up something for me that I can access a lot of movies. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
This is amazing. So tell me about your favorite movie or some of the favorite movies. Like a lot of people are into Marvel, and we just had this conversation before. You're actually a DC guy. Can I say that?
Yeah. I think you can let the beans spill on that one.
So, and you had this on your podcast, and I'm just curious, so why DC?
I think it started with Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I took it down to nuts and bolts, I think Superman was my favorite character, and then it got into Batman, and you know what? I think it's I don't know. I'm somewhat moody when it comes to some of the things that I like. In a way, that might sound weird, but I like the drama of DC. I like the darkness of Batman in its raw form, like Arkham Knight, that kind of series. Because obviously they all have different branches, and DC it hit more home to me. Not like I think I'm Superman.
Right.
No, it's I think I grew up on that more. I think that's probably where it started. That was mostly influenced in me at an earlier age. I didn't know much about Marvel until later on.
Do you think they did a great job with the movies so far?
So I did a podcast. I didn't know if you know that, but I did a podcast about it, and
that one is actually very good.
Thank you.
I like that episode. Yes,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So here's what DC did really well with animated series. They did the Ultimate Justice League, which was fantastic. They had people that were involved that were actually creative people actually in DC and actually wrote comic books and drew. And, so you had these people that were in charge of it that should have been, but the movies were lacking. You had the Christopher Nolan Batman and stuff like that, and that was really good. Even the first Batman with Michael Keaton as Batman was really good. But then later on, it kind of fell apart. And I know you probably want me to go in more detail.
I mean, hey, you can say what you feel like saying here.
So the problem was in the short, because it could be a long episode. The short of it is the powers that be in Warner Brothers, who oversees DC, got too much involved. And what they wanted was they wanted the next Marvel, because Marvel, let's say, Marvel
did a great job.
2007,
the whole
with Iron Man, 2008 maybe. They started off, first of all, they got Robert Downey Jr., who is Iron Man.
He's Iron Man.
He's Iron Man.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they started. And that basically made Marvel what it is today. I mean, Marvel was always good. They were always good comics, but they came after DC, and some of their characters are based on, they both played with each other. But Marvel did it right with the movies. They couldn't do the animated series, but it didn't matter. They had the movies, they had them fun, they had them, they had the comic bit with most of the characters. As the characters progressed, they got funnier and more lovable and likable. And you had certain directors that were able to play that out and take advantage of it, and it worked. DC, unfortunately, they had the darker, which I enjoy, and there are people that love that.
Not
it's more dramatic,
right?
Not as kid friendly.
Not PG-13 as
the real Batman is not a kid's movie. I
don't think so.
No, the character himself, Superman, is more friendly, but. DC, you know what? I think they had all of the makings of something great, because they had Bruce Timm, they had Jeff Johns, who were creative directors and president and whatever of DC Comics. They were involved, and they were like, well, we'll do it this way. We'll take it this way. They had the right writers, they had the right directors, and then Warner Brothers came in and said, no, we want this. We want the fun loving. They wanted to take characters that weren't made fun to be fun. It was like taking, a serial killer and making him a clown. It just doesn't. Well, actually, that does. Right? Yeah, that is one. But you know what I mean. They're making him a comedian. It just doesn't work that way. Right. It's a different genre when you think about it. And Marvel does have dark. Yeah. It does have dark characters and stuff like that. But you had it brought to life by people like Robert Downey Jr. and Thor later on with Chris Hemsworth. And
they had good casting.
Very good casting. Yeah. They all loved each other. It was a fun environment, and it just wasn't the same for DC.
Yeah, and finishing with this, sure. I mean, just to move on with. I think it's interesting, and guys, listen to his podcast. What's the
I go more in depth.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm not positive. Just look for it.
It's one of the last
DC,
one.
I think it was Warner Brothers ruined DC.
Okay.
Or hates DC. Okay. Warner Brothers hates DC.
There's people might not know this, but this is an interesting fact. Aquaman, who has not seen it, hopefully you've seen it. It's a great movie, and it's actually the most successful comic movie of all times. It is bigger. It made more money than all of the well, not all of them together, but what was the biggest one? I think Avengers, or Infinity War, or the Endgame. It actually made more money than those movies, and it's a good movie. So just saying, DC is out there. People just sometimes don't know about it.
But, I guess it's more of a taste.
I guess, but that's good to know. So movies. I also. I want to bring this in. I don't know. I wrote this down as a note. Last year was COVID, right? I mean,
what?
Or what
Was it? What
something
was it?
like that. Yeah. So it's still whatever. It's still happening. But you made some interesting discoveries last year. Last time you came here, you brought me a gift, and it was a painting. And so you know where I'm going. Okay. So you started painting as well, or tried to do some paintings, and also lamps.
That's so.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, how should I say? You ventured out and explored painting. Tell me about that.
I took 2020 as a win.
Okay.
More than a loss. I mean, first of all, we talked about this in mine. We got to spend more time with family, and I took advantage of that. Thankfully, I work in a field that I can work from home, and so I was able to do that anyway. However, I just wanted more of a creative outlet, so I started a podcast. I finished my book. I started painting, the first painting ever in a real painting.
We got it.
I gave it to Tom. It was for Tom.
So hey, wait a second.
Yeah,
It was
go ahead.
pause. If more paintings will come out, and however I worded that before, my apologies, I didn't mean that way. if his paintings, let's think about it. If paintings become famous, I'm gonna have an original one. I'm gonna have the first
Yeah,
one.
the very first
I
one.
can make a lot of money.
Yeah,
So, anyway,
and it's cut into 4 sections, so you can actually probably sell 3/4
that's
of it.
actually very true.
You're
I
welcome.
thought about that. Thank you.
Just don't send the one that that I
just
signed.
okay. Just keep them together. So yeah, continue.
So and then I started building lamps because why not, right? So I just had this hankering I love lighting. I don't know why I love light, but I decided I'm going to work with wood and metal, even though I didn't do that ever before, and just started creating lamps. And I took last year to be more creative and just to step out past the boundary of what I thought was limits for me.
Well, that's interesting you say that. You know, in a time where all this was happening, you actually took a step and became creative, right? Is
A
that
little more creative, yeah.
Oh, more creative, yeah.
Well, I think because I always wrote, you know, and I didn't. So not to go too bad down a rabbit hole, but my early childhood was my brother is a fantastic artist. I mean, he is unbelievable. The things that he comes up with. I mean, to be inside of his mind would probably be scary. But he's unbelievably talented.
Is he in your book too as a character?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So and because it might cause some rifts, but I just I wasn't the artist. I wasn't really groomed to be an artist. I was a fighter, and that was what I was supposed to do, I think, in a way. But I love to write, but that's not what I was supposed to do. So I spent most of my life thinking, this is what I have to do. He's the artist. Joe's the artist.
Okay.
Don't touch it. So I realized this year, I'm like, well, I'm writing a book. Why can't I do more?
Right.
You know, so I was like, why are we limiting, why am I limiting myself? And why do we as a society limit ourselves to pre-misconceptions?
That's great. Has this influenced your family life as well? Like, what about creativity and, you know, you have some kids?
I have two daughters who are both very creative. My oldest daughter, who's only 8, she's about to be 9. She loves to write. She loves to draw, and she's probably more artistic in that sense. And it's funny. While I was finishing my book,
I heard she wrote some books too, right?
She wrote
You need to share this. This is the best.
So she was taking the opportunity to write some fairy books, and she would take some blank pieces of paper and fold them and staple them, so she made a book. And she would write a story. She would draw. She did her own illustrations. And one day, as I was still working on my book, it wasn't quite finished, she goes, "Hey, Daddy, I just finished my 5th book. How many have you finished?" I'm like, wow, shots fired.
You, man.
Shots fired. Man, is that
How
something
did
you
that
want to hear?
make you feel? Like, are you
That
kidding,
was
man?
like-
Whoa.
I did go right downstairs and start writing some more. So
Yeah, you better. Yeah, I mean, she's ahead of you.
she was ahead of me.
And
She
she's
wrote
only
5.
9. I mean, come on. I don't
Yeah.
even going to ask you about your age. So
Yeah. So she's written many so far, and she's very creative in that way. The other one is very creative in other ways, and they're both very artistic, and I love it. The other one just started drawing and writing herself, and you know she's only 6, so she's still reading or learning to read and stuff. So she's coming along. You know,
Yeah.
they both have. I have artwork all over my walls from both of them.
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You display them, but do you have boxes you put them away? Or like, how do you
I have some that are put away, but my downstairs basement is my office, and most of the walls are covered with their stuff.
It's a form of inspiration, looking around
It is,
like,
it
oh,
is.
yeah.
It's also a reminder that my daughter's more talented than I am.
Yeah, she is. I mean,
gotta start
she's
working
way
on it.
ahead of you. But you know, like, hey, you created a platform. So
I
you
hope
should
to
be proud.
get
You should be
even a
proud of
fraction
yourself.
of
Absolutely.
what she's done.
So as I was pondering about, obviously questions to ask you, and some just coming and flowing. This is how it is. I wanted to do something that is one-on-one. Because I like stories. I like people's stories, and I like to talk to my friends. And you're one of my good friends, and that's here we are. So the idea came to me when I was doing my first episode, and I was sitting. It's called Train Tracks.
Right.
And I was sitting on the train tracks, literally. And some people think very idiotic to do so.
You can
But-
hear a train.
There you go. Yeah, I think
You
so
know it's
too.
coming.
But I had comments, it was like, what are you, anyway, I like to live dangerously, sometimes.
On the edge.
Yes, right. And so, but it, as I was sitting there, it's like, I feel like so, the train tracks go in this direction and go in ahead of me and behind me, and I'm sitting in the middle. So it's like, it kind of, this pictures came to me, and we all come from somewhere. We are here right now, and where we are going. And so I thought that would be an interesting to incorporate this in a podcast setting. I mean, that's where it's going eventually. But right now, doing the videos, which is great, and we have this beautiful smiling face right next to me because we tried to set this up. You should see the contraption. We have two. We have two bricks on top of each other, and then there's some device where I hold my phone up.
I mean, this is why Germany couldn't get into Switzerland.
That's
it's
right.
because of this wall.
Yeah, because I'm a good builder. My dad was a builder. You should see you saw my fire pit. I built that. My dad's fire pit would probably be even stronger, better. And my father-in-law, who renovated most of this barn, I took something down that he built last week, and thought like, I'm just going to take this cabinet down. You know how long it took me? Half a day. I thought like, I'm going to be in there an hour. Like, he built stuff. So anyway, so in this, like, part of you, already shared some of it is like your story. Like you mentioned, next to being creative, you also, you have a business, you're an IT guy, that's what you do for a living at this point. But you also have a very interesting story, I think, about, in short, what happened to you, because you mentioned you were into martial arts. And then something happens, and that kind of, whoa, and now the wasps come out. Anyway, so share a little bit with us what happened there. You were on a path, on a track, and then everything changed.
So my parents got me into martial arts when I was 7, and to this school that acted prestigious in the way that my brother and I both tried out at the same time, but they didn't take him; they took me. And
that's the artist?
I think it was.
Is that the artist?
The artist.
Okay.
And I think that was probably more show than anything, because the testings that they did were absolutely ridiculous. And I didn't know how ridiculous they were until I moved to another state and went to a real school. And so I did that for 16 years, martial arts, and I got recruited out to DC to teach and to become professional. And not in a sense of like Ultimate Fighter or anything. It was to teach professionally. And one day, one of the things that I was doing while I was being certified, I guess, get into my certification, which was happening the next week after this event happened. One of the things I would do was I would teach at schools, I would teach at government buildings and stuff like that. And then I got a contract with, it was like a 24-hour fitness kind of place. It was some kind of gym. And basically I would go there. Anyone that wanted lessons, I would give them like self-defense lessons and stuff like that. And then we started doing something for kids where the people who were working out can bring their kids along with them, and then I would teach them. And I had this display, and you have this like little event where you make them break these boards that are already broken, because it's part of the boards. You know what?
Okay.
And without getting too much into the thing, the guy that I was learning under, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I didn't do the boards thing. What I did was I explained like the history of karate and taekwondo, because they're two different things. Yeah. And there was a worker at the gym who was he was in maintenance, and he came to me at the end of like the first showing I ever did, and said, I can't bring my kid, the scheduling, could you please come on a Saturday? And I didn't go on Saturdays. I had been going to this gym doing this for about a month or so. It's like, well, I don't really do that, but I'll do it for you. And he was the only one I was going to do it for. And I didn't have a car, so I rode a bike 12 miles each way, and it was up and down hills and stuff like that, and didn't have a helmet. And Saturday morning, I get up, go to the gym. On my way there, I pass like 2 reserve bases, like Army reserves and some other reserve base. And as I'm coming around to the entrance of this reserve base, the next thing I know, I'm on my back, and there's boots all around me. What happened was this colonel pulled out, lieutenant colonel, I think, pulled out in front of me as I was coming by. I was on the sidewalk, didn't have a helmet, and I smashed into his van. Now I didn't see it, but the cop that came to the hospital later said that I dented in his entire side door and it can't open anymore. I used my head apparently to do that. I was all twisted up. I broke my jaw in half, which they didn't even check. You know, I was like, I think something's wrong. Like my mouth is moving like this. And then I ruined my shoulder, dislocated it, which I've done before. But it was twisted. It was like almost like falling out. Destroyed my rotator cuff, broke my clavicle. So it was gone. And that ended my career as a martial artist. I was down by myself in DC. I was living with actually the instructor. He had like a basement apartment. And the next day, my aunt and my father came down and got me, and I went to New York and haven't been back since.
Wow, that's the end part is very quick, but I mean, maybe because
I mean, it's, there's more to it. But,
there's much more to it, but it just I thought it's interesting. I didn't know that fact that you were asked to do a special lesson on Saturday, and actually it makes me think. Your heart went out for this guy and his kids, and because of that, I mean, not him to blame him, but like otherwise you wouldn't have done that, and then this happened. So it's like, what are you taking with you now? Obviously, fast forwarding, because that's been a while ago when that happened, and it changed obviously your course. Like I said, you're on this track, or we think we're on this track. Yeah. This is where we're going, and then something like this is drastic. I mean, it's like an incident that changes everything. It's not like I'm gonna go on this plane now. I missed that one. It's like there's certain things you can't do anymore as a career.
Yeah.
So the fast forwarding or moving forward, like, do you miss that, or do you think what happened now after is much better?
It's definitely better now. I always want to like learn different. I would, if I ever went back to something like that, I would want to learn a new form. I don't think I'd want to teach anymore, because I was teaching at like the age of 12.
Yeah.
And until I was 22 when I got hit by a car, and it happened for a reason. And I was in a really dark place down there. I was all by myself. I was sleeping on an air mattress that always deflated. So by the morning, I was always on the floor. There were black widows. I was arachnophobic at the time. It was a really horrible, horrible situation. And even though it's the only thing I really knew as far as what to do with my life,
right?
It wasn't for me. It wasn't meant to be. Okay. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have had my 2 beautiful children. I wouldn't be where I am today without having gone through that step. Because if I had stayed in Nebraska, which is where I was beforehand, I was with a group of friends that ended up very badly. One of them was executed in a break-in in the house, and these were the guys I was going to be with. And the way it was done, the way the event went down is exactly how I would have done it. So I would have been, I strongly believe I would have been dead as well. So everything happens for a reason.
Right.
I know that. Stepping stones even to where I am today with you. It's all because things were put in our path.
Something is happening, and that causes something else to happen at times, or you meet somebody, or So, wow. So that brought you to New York, and what we, this is, otherwise if you would still be in Nebraska.
I would be in Nebraska.
That's wow. Okay, man. So where do you think? Obviously, you have a lot going on with the podcast and your book. What else is happening right now that's important to you?
Family is the most important thing to me.
Why is family important? I mean,
I don't know.
What about family is important?
It's a loaded question because growing up, I come from a broken home. My parents divorced when I was 18. And at that point, I was jaded. Yeah. Didn't want anything to do with family. I never thought I would get married and have kids. The light that it brings to my life, seeing my kids every morning, even though I'm terrified of them dying, like I'm going to do something wrong. Like I check on them every single night, at least once or twice. Just like, are you still breathing? Oh, thank God. They're 9 and 6 years old. The happiness and joy that I feel more fulfilled. Yeah. With them around, and it's all because God, created this environment for me. Family family has always been big in our. I'm Italian. So
Italiano, Iovino.
the stereotype there is family.
We talked about
family.
this life around the table and food and all this. You have to listen to Sammy's podcast that we just finished, but it's going to be a good
You can
one.
just piggyback, just go back and forth.
That's right.
Family has always been ingrained in us, as far as like on my father's side, and and my mother's side too. I'm not trying to spit on anybody, but the Italian part was always like Sunday dinners, always a family event, and at least 2-3 hours of just hanging out and stuff like that. And family is, without family, it's just very difficult for me. Yeah. I was in a very dark place when I was by myself, and even until before I met my wife, I was jaded, and it's just nothing made sense to me. And God put her in my life, and I changed who I was because I met her. And I remember I wanted nothing to do with church, but I ended up always hanging out with the pastor's son, who I met through family.
Normally, I don't know if that's a good thing. Normally, like a typical
at the pastor's house, with the pastor there,
right?
Always talking to me.
Hold on, I didn't mean it this way. It's like there's a lot of what I wanted to say is there's a lot of pastors' kids out there that are. There's stories behind that, and some of
it comes with the previous kid.
Yeah, exactly. So you hung out with the pastor's kid, or son. Sorry,
he was younger than me, but he was a lot of fun to hang out with, and the pastor was always there and would talk to me every once in a while, but never about God. Never about God. Never even tried to get me to his church. I think maybe once or twice he said something.
What kind of pastor is this? He doesn't. I'm just kidding.
I know that
pastor.
Absolutely.
It's a great guy.
He's my godfather now.
Yeah.
He's by just him saying I'm your godfather. I'm like, yes, absolutely.
He's the godfather.
He's exactly, not in the Italian sense.
Okay.
But he's I found that I don't even know where I'm going with this. I was there with them.
Yeah.
And I had to change where I was. I knew I was 20, 22, 23, and I had blue hair. And now it doesn't seem like anything, but for me at that time, I wasn't grown up.
Yeah.
And I was going through my teen angst at the 16-year-old teen angst at 23. And one event, I remember going out to California for a wedding. I hope this is okay. With my cousin, and New York was representing. We were the representatives of New York for the California wedding. We came in suits. Everyone else was in shorts and a shirt. And we didn't know. I've never been to a California wedding before. And we were. Is it all right if I talk a little bit candid?
Please.
So we were. They had a keg, and we were behind the bar. And we were the self-designated bartenders, me and my cousin.
Yeah.
Hand out a beer, take a beer. Hand out a beer, take a beer. The whole keg was, by the end of the night, we had the groom's father and brother-in-law doing cake stands. And, New York was life of the party. So we had a great time. We partied later on at someone else's house. And I remember the next day was awful. Next day was like, that's it. I can't believe I just did that. And I came home to New York and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done with that. And I haven't, been in that frame of mind since. And that's when my life changed. And then I went to church that next Sunday. And who's my wife now, she came in and she said, "Oh, hell froze over." And
it's a miracle.
That's her attitude. She's hilarious.
Yeah.
And
she is.
And then that's it. That changed it. And because of things like that, family is everything.
Well, you're just making a connection there because you're talking about family, but there's also I would say a spiritual family,
yes.
a community,
Yes.
and you experience that in a very positive way, not in a sense religious in that sense, because you had a person like that pastor. And he treated you as a human being, he listened to you, he invested in you, and he talked to you, and he took you seriously. And, could it be, or is it fair to say that these experiences, next to what you just shared, like helped you on your journey, obviously, to change?
Being from a broken home, and that taking such a big impact on me, and I was a sensitive person, and still am. Emotions are always on my forefront. I try not to, but like every once in a while, my wife's like, you're grumpy. Why are you grumpy? I was like, I'm thinking of something. Well, don't.
Go right.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking something.
So with that loss, because it is a death, a divorce is a death. And then my brothers and I were separated. Like I moved away. My brother was taken to Atlanta, and my other brother was in Nebraska. We were separated for a long time. I think there was always a longing, and I did have faith before this happened. But my mom was the spiritual person in the home. My father wasn't, and she left. And I was like, and the method of what happened, I'm like, forget it. I'm done with this. What's the point of all this? And so I needed something, and I loved people. I didn't want to be around people, but I did want to be around people. And I love, I meet people and I love people, and I didn't think I would ever do that. Like, I love you. And
I love you too.
I feel like the special bond. Like, I think I put more into some relationships than like others don't want. I'm not saying you. There's others, but like I'm very passionate about it, and I might not come off that way, but I think the longing for like friendship and for something to fill the void of losing parents, basically, without losing them, because they were around physically, they just weren't there. That created something in me that needed to be found. And basically it was coming back to God, was a big thing with that. And I think God used people to bring me back to him, and then gave me more people to, one, cause so much stress in my life. I'm just kidding. But to fill some of those, those longings, I guess, not so much voids, but longings to be with people and be around another family. So I call you brother. I call many people brothers. I have, my girls have many uncles and aunts and they're all just like mostly friends, it's just, I love deeply, even if I don't show it. And I just appreciate the bond that comes from both the spiritual, friendship, the family friendship, and just the deep love of, between each other,
Sounds pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're built this way. We like, especially during last year, like, I didn't plan this, but like having people around the fire pit here on a weekly basis, it really helped. Well, me, because I felt like, look, I'm in need of this. Like whatever's going on, people need to figure out what does it mean for themselves. But for me, it was like, look, this is what I can do. I can provide a space, and we have the space, right? I built this with my bare hands, I built this fire pit. My dad, when I told him, said, it's probably crooked, and he probably was right. Yeah, but it's my fire pit. I built it, not you. So anyway, and so being able to bring people together and just have that form of community, like, because I don't think none of us is built to just be alone. I mean, there's exceptions, obviously, but like we have that longing for family, for community, for relationship, friendship. And so thanks for sharing this, because it just made me think, like, having a place where this can happen, like,
Yeah.
and then you found a place where this could happen for you, and now you have literally a family, with the girls and your wife, obviously. What do you feel like, what is important to you that you want to leave behind as a legacy for them? If we're talking about family.
For my kids.
Yeah.
That's hard. I mean, you always want to do better.
Oh, yeah.
Than the generation before you. And
Well, she's already passed you in writing more books.
I know.
Yeah.
So I have to catch up.
Yeah.
I just want them. I don't know. I want them to felt loved, that I gave as much as I possibly could to them, and to provide for them, and I want them to feel that. You know what? I don't know. I want them to feel that I did what I could.
Yeah.
I think that's what every parent wants. Is like, my parents did the best they could, and they tried as much as they they put effort in. I want them to know that I love them, more importantly than anything else is they're my world. So
that's thank you for sharing this. The last thing I feel like, as you said, being a part of how did you put that, of their world, or
they're part,
the part of your world. Yeah. I'm learning, if I might say, like, because we're all busy people, and we talked about this just before. Like, a lot's happening normally, you know, especially here in Jersey, New York, other places. Like, it's very busy. You know, people are to a certain degree driven, and not in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so this is very peaceful sitting out here
Absolutely.
at the picnic
Love this
table
place.
with this contraption.
Yes.
It's great.
It's hilarious.
We take a picture. You should see this. But I totally forgot where I was going to go with
The part of the world.
the part of the world. What part of the world?
Part of my world.
Oh, part of your world. That's right. So I'm learning because, you know, I had some times that I needed to process some things that, you know, it's one thing that you want your kids to be a part of your world, and it's very natural because that's your world. I mean, you are with somebody, and the kids come along with whatever, however that happens, and then you never thought that you missed something because you didn't know what that was, and now you have them. And you cannot imagine them not being a part of your life, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how I feel. Yeah. And I just performed a wedding just a couple of days ago. And each time the bride comes in, I'm just overwhelmed because I feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to survive this as a dad if my girls get married one day.
Think about it.
I can't make it up there. You're on your own.
Could you imagine our friend with 5 girls?
Oh my God! It's just like at the end you're like dead. But anyway, it's like I learned also now, or I'm in the process, that not only do I want them just to be a part of my world, how can I become a part of their world? You know, how what can I do that, you know, not do, like, what interests them, that it becomes my interest, because that gives me a chance to spend time with them, you know. And so I think it's great if you especially being creative, you know, if you find outlets like writing, or you have this competition.
That I didn't even know was happening.
I know, man. It's just like that. And you better catch up here. You know, I'm way ahead of you. You know, so that's great. I like that. Thanks so much, Sammy. So you know, like we've been. There's so much more we can talk about. I mean, we will. You know, we'll have you back. You know, and just want to thank you. But so for now, for the future, moving forward. So where can we find you? You know, your podcast.
No Green Eggs and Ham. You can go on to anchor.fm. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go onto my website, nogreeneggs.com. I can't believe I found that website, that address, because no one's taken it.
Yeah. There's some cool reviews on there.
There are some very cool reviews. I think
read them.
4 in fact.
Please. Write one after. Yeah, you need some more.
Go now. Send me a review, a comment, a question, and I will go ahead and send you a sticker. We'll communicate. That's it. I mean, Facebook, and look for Guardians of the 12.
Yeah, coming up.
Who knows, soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully soon.
Looking forward. Thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And we're going to enjoy the rest of our time here in Jersey, out in the outdoors here. So thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.